This podcast contains paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, where I discuss how you can grow your business by the bootstraps. This applies to all entrepreneurs, from the person just starting up to the one that is already well established. My goal is to help you grow. I am your host, Isaiah O'Connor. Okay, so sorry for the little bit of delay today and any additional background noise of children. I forgot to record last night when the kids are in bed, so recording when they're awake. We'll see how this goes. Anyway, let's get the sponsor out of the way. I've got a new sponsor that I've been testing out and so far I've been pretty happy with. And that sponsor is HappyScribe. I'll be uploading a link to them on the podcast notes as well as the main page here soon. But what is HappyScribe? HappyScribe is an automatic transcriber program. It automatically takes your audio from either your podcast or your video and transcribes them into text that you can edit very, very quickly. It is amazingly quick. It can create text for your videos, subtitles, etc. really, really quick. It allows you to put it straight onto your videos. It handles multiple languages. I've been testing it. So far, I'm liking it. I will have pretty soon a couple links to my blog post that I'm going to transcribe from my podcast. I'm going to transcribe it into a blog post, edit it, make some changes to make it more suitable for a writing, the way you write instead of the way you speak. Change a little bit around and put that up as a blog post, and eventually I will be having links to that. But so far I've been testing it out. It's really cool. Go check them out. If you need to translate content, create anything like that, it's great. I figured it'd be a great tool for any content creators that listen in. Go check them out, happyscribe.com. Link will be in the description. Anyway, so today we'll be talking about doing things right the first time. Now, I do understand, of course, that it's not always easy to do things right the first time, especially when you're not experienced in doing something. I've been there, done that. There's always a learning curve. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the concept of never time to do things right, but always time to do them again. Now, what does that mean? That means when you know how to do it right, but you rush through and take shortcuts so that in the end you mess it up. And then you have to go back and fix it because you didn't do it right the first time. My dad used to tell me this all the time when I was working with him cleaning when he had a janitorial service. I'd rush through cleaning, I'd come back and he'd look and he'd go, you know what? No, you missed this and this and this. You got to do it right the first time because now you have to go back and clean it again. Because there's always time to do it again if you don't do it right the first time. You have to go back and fix it. And it saves you so much time, effort, and energy to do it right the first time instead of rushing and taking shortcuts and not getting it done right the first time. And it's very easy to do this in business where you try to rush through to get something done and it blows up your own face. And I still to this day do this mistake from time to time. Recently, because of the whole coronavirus thing, here in Norway, the Norwegian government decided to give out a compensation package for small businesses that lost income due to coronavirus. My small business lost income due to coronavirus, so I was able to go and apply to get compensation. Now, one of the problems was they decided to use the tax data from 2019. Well, without an accountant, it takes me a lot longer to do my tax data, and I didn't file my taxes yet for 2019. So I rushed through as quickly as possible. And rushing through, I didn't take the time to do what I usually do and call the tax office once I fill out the form and go through and talk to them and check every little detail to make sure I'm filing it correctly. Well, I didn't realize that I had a mistake in my accounting software that I had made that had altered the amount of the taxes, and because of it, it showed that I made too little to get the compensation from the Norwegian government. Because I rushed through and I didn't take the time for that one extra step that I knew I needed to do it right, to make sure I did it right, to take the extra time to do, and my application was immediately declined because I didn't make enough money to receive the compensation for that year. And they said that you couldn't resend the form, you couldn't correct it, you could only send in a complaint and ask for it to be reviewed. So afterwards, I went back, I took the time, I called the tax office, I went through, found the mistake, fixed the mistake, took all the extra time I should have done in the first place. Then once I had it corrected, then I was able to print up a new copy of my tax records, actually correct this time. And then I had to mail it in and sit and wait for a couple of weeks for them to decide. And fortunately, they decided that, okay, yes, I did qualify and I was able to get the compensation for my family, which we desperately needed at that point. So it worked. Got it done right the second time, because there's always time to stop and do it right the second time. So it's very easy to forget this. And something my dad didn't say, but something I have added to this concept, is there's never money to do things right, but there's always money to do things again. And this is very, very common in business, and kind of will go into my next podcast where I'm talking about the proper equipment. Again, sometimes you have to start with what you got. Right now, I don't have the money to get a better microphone yet, but I have to use the one on my laptop. It's not great, but it works. Now, that's fine. You have to use what you have, of course. Sometimes you don't have the money. Again, just like before, if you don't know how to do it right the first time, it's because you're inexperienced. That's one thing. But there's another thing when you just don't feel like spending the money to do it right the first time. There's a big difference. And I've seen this time and time again, where somebody will take the cheapest shortcut, use the cheapest materials possible, and cut every corner they can financially, only to have to go back and fix it and or replace the item, because they spent so little money on it to begin with that they buy the cheap product 10 times over because it keeps falling apart and breaking or not working, and they spend way more than they would have to begin with if they had just bought the quality item up front to begin with. So sometimes buying a cheap product doesn't really matter. I go to the store, I buy the cheap branded Cheerios for my kids. It doesn't really make a huge difference between the expensive brand of Cheerios. It's pretty much the same company, whatever. That's not a big deal. But when it comes to, say, equipment, when it comes to hosting, for example, I've seen people host websites on free platforms, and then they have ads on their websites for random stuff. That's not a great look for your business. They hire cheap people in to do the electricity in the building to find that they don't do it to code. They have to rip it out and redo it to code. I've seen that personally. Had to fix it after the fact. And the money to do it again came up. We had to use the money, do it again, fix it to code. So taking shortcuts with money when you don't absolutely have to can hurt you in the long run. Spending a little bit more, getting a little bit better equipment, better materials, the sturdier equipment, the equipment with a good warranty, for example, that in the long run will help you out because you will not be spending money over and over and over again on cheap equipment that falls apart. And it's just one of those kind of crazy things about human nature, I guess, is when you're so wanting to save the money that you don't think of the long term. If I buy this piece of equipment, I've got two options. I've got a piece of equipment that's twice as expensive, but much better, much more durable, much more steady. Or I've got this really cheap piece of equipment that's half the cost. I'll go with the cheap piece of equipment. Even if you can afford the expensive one, people tend to buy the cheap one. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy fancy stuff just to impress people either. Don't get me wrong. But if it's a piece of junk that's not going to last and do the job for very long, unless it's an emergency situation where you just need a small, quick piece of item quickly, you need to get the best piece of equipment that you can afford at the time and not cut corners, because in the long run, it will cost you more money. Just like it will cost you more time, effort, and energy if you rush through and don't take your time to do it right in the first time. So, yeah, there's never time to do things right, and there's never time to do things and there's never money to do things right, but there's always time and money to do them again. So, as you go out there, as you knock things out, just remember, try not to take shortcuts, try not to cut costs when you don't have to. Now, of course, you always want to try to become more efficient, find ways to do it right quickly. That's efficient, not just hasty, not just quickly. And there's always, of course, spending less money where you can, but you still don't want to shave money and cost off of things that are the most important for your business. Oh, one last thought on the money thing. There was a beer company called Schlitz Beer, and they were very popular for a while because they were very, very cheap. Problem was, the company started cutting cost and not doing it right. They were cutting cost on ingredients. They changed the recipe. They used a different stabilizer than they usually did, and that stabilizer didn't work, and it was causing weird slime, not dangerous, but just gross slime to form in their beer. And then instead of spending money to have an outside chemistry company come in and analyze it and figure out the problem, they tried to do it internally, and they took a lot longer to find the problem. And then when they did find the problem, they realized that it was because it interacted wrong with another ingredient that they got that was super cheap, and they kept cutting costs, and the beer quality kept getting worse, and they wouldn't spend the money to fix it because they were trying to keep the cost down low to keep their famous cheap beer brand going, and they lost everything. The company was around for a long time, 70, 80 years, 100 years, I can't remember exactly how long, but yeah, I just looked, I had it up on the screen. They were around for around 170 years, but then they started cutting cost. Not enough money to do things right, and they didn't take the time to do it right, and 171-year-old company went out of business because they refused to take the money to do things right. So can be a major thing. It can cost you your entire business. So yeah, always take the time to do things right. Take the money to do things right when you can. Again, when you can. Yeah, we're bootstrappers. We don't always have the money or the time to do things completely because we don't know or whatever. But try, really try. Anyway, you all have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye bye. Okay, just as a reminder, we do offer a free 1/2 hour, no obligation consultation. All you need to do is go to our website and contact us through there, or you can contact me directly at my O'Connor Bootstrap podcast Facebook group or our Atheoz.com Facebook page as well. And if you would like to support this channel, the best thing you can do, of course, is to like and share and subscribe. That helps the most. Or you can check out one of our affiliate links. And of course, I do have a PayPal and a Patreon account, and the links will be in the description below. Thank you very much. You all have a good day. You have been listening to the O'Connor Bootstrap podcast and Atheoz Business Solutions podcast. For other podcasts, past episodes, and related blogs, please check out our website at www.atheoz.com. That is www.atheoz.com or atheoz.com. Until next time, I've been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor.